Champagne soaked my wedding dress before I even had the chance to say, I do. The bottle didn't just slip. It was thrown, crashing to the floor and silencing the entire room. In the dead quiet, all eyes went to the center of the room, where my sister, Emily, stood with a red face and a triumphant, ugly smirk. She pointed a finger at me, her voice dripping with venom for everyone to hear. This is what you get for acting like you're better than everyone else. Before anyone could react, she moved to the cake. 3 perfect tiers of white velvet, a masterpiece. We had spent months designing, were crushed under her bare hands. Gasps filled the air, followed by another wave of stunned silence. My mother, ever the peacekeeper, rushed to her side, not mine. She wrapped her arms around Emily, cooing softly as if this was just another therapy session. She just needs to let it out, she told the horrified guests. And there I stood, dripping in champagne, covered in humiliation and utterly alone. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I said nothing. But in that silence, a cold, precise plan began to form. That night, while my family laughed in the kitchen, dismissing the entire catastrophe as Emily being Emily, I did what no one ever expected. I wasn't the bigger person they always wanted me to be. I was the smarter one. I opened my laptop, and in the quiet glow of the screen, I began to dismantle the future they had all taken for granted, a future that was built on my money and my name. First, the tuition deposit for her prestigious out-of-state college. I had paid it myself as a graduation gift. A few clicks was all it took to pull the funds and cancel the wire transfer. I even flagged the account for suspicious activity, just to be safe. Second, the apartment. The one she'd bragged about for weeks. I had co-signed the lease because her credit was a disaster. I logged into the portal, reported the lease as fraudulent, and had my lawyer draft a cease and desist letter to the property manager. By the time I closed my laptop, the apartment she'd toured was gone, the lease voided. In under an hour, she had no college acceptance and no place to live. That was just the beginning. Asterisk to understand my actions, you have to understand my childhood. Growing up, our family revolved around Emily's chaos. Emily cried louder, so she got more attention. Emily was sensitive, so my achievements were downplayed to protect her feelings. I was the quiet one, the sharp one, the precise one. In my family's eyes, that didn't make me responsible, it made me cold. When I earned scholarships, my parents told me she needed encouragement, too, and bought her a car. When I got engaged, they warned me not to make her feel left behind. My sin was never that I was better, it was that I worked harder and refused to apologize for it. The signs of her jealousy had been escalating for months. Little jabs disguised as jokes. Wow, who knew you'd be the first one married, she'd say. At my dress fitting, she showed up wearing a white gown. When I asked her why, she rolled her eyes and snapped, "Don't be so insecure. No one's going to mistake me for the bride." The next day, she posted a picture of us from the fitting, but she'd cropped me out, leaving only her in the white dress. The caption read, "Some of us were born to wear the spotlight." My friends noticed. My fiancé noticed. But I told everyone to let it go. She thought I was being soft. I wasn't being soft. I was being patient. As the sun began to rise, I executed my final moves. Months ago, I had written a glowing recommendation for Emily for a private scholarship. I logged into my email and sent the scholarship board a revised statement, formally withdrawing my endorsement due to recent and severe behavioral concerns. But the final move was the one I'd been saving. 2 months earlier, Emily had drunkenly confessed on a video call that she'd been using a high-quality fake ID to work under the table at clubs to fund her lifestyle. She laughed about it, thinking it made her sound edgy and cool. What she didn't know was that I had recorded the call, not out of spite, but out of instinct. You learn to collect receipts when you live with a hurricane. I forwarded that video clip, anonymously, to her school's disciplinary board and copied the dean of admissions at 7:30 a.m. The chaos began. Emily woke up to her world collapsing. Calls from the housing office, a revoked acceptance letter, and a text from her advisor, demanding a meeting to review her eligibility. She ran to my mother's room, sobbing hysterically. But I was already gone. I had checked into a luxury suite downtown with my new husband, my phone on silent. A week later, the confrontation came. Emily stormed into my condo, her eyes bloodshot. "You ruined everything," she screamed. I didn't raise my voice. I calmly sipped my coffee and looked her straight in the eye. "No, Emily," I said. "You did that." For the first time in her life, she had no witty comeback. Just silence that my mother called later, accusing me of being cruel. I reminded her that the damage Emily caused wasn't just emotional. It was financial, documented, and traceable. Her consequences were, for the first time, earned. The fallout was quiet but permanent. Emily moved back home, and her gap year has now stretched into 2. She tried to post on social media about family betrayal, but the video of her destroying my wedding cake had already gone viral. No one bought her story. Meanwhile, my husband and I built a life. We traveled. We started a business. We found peace. They call me heartless. I call it boundaries. Let people underestimate you. Let them misread your silence for weakness. Because quiet isn't weakness. It's timing. And real revenge isn't loud and messy. It's a quiet, calculated move that changes the game forever.